I'm the Redbeard guy, and this is my attempt at my first Nuzlocke ever. I could just start with a simple Nuzlocke, but that's no fun. So I'm going to start with a hardcore flying type only Nuzlocke of Pokemon Y. Now, if you're as new to the Pokemon YouTube scene as I am, a Nuzlocke is just a list of self-imposed rules to make the game a little bit harder. Like, you can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter on each route. If a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and has to be boxed or released. You have to nickname every Pokemon to increase the attachment, but I'm playing a hardcore rules, so there's a little bit more. You can't level up past the next gym leader or Elite Four member. You can't use healing items in battle. I can only catch flying type Pokemon, and I'm not using Megas unless I'm playing against somebody who has a Mega or it's the Elite Four. And now we have to take on Shauna with our starter, which is a Chespin and a Grass type that we can't actually use, but we don't have a choice yet. But it's okay because Kalos has a crap load of Pokemon and a lot of them are flying types. So very soon on Route 2, actually, we get our first encounter, which is a Pidgey. And I love Pidgey. Pidgeotto is actually one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Don't judge me, alright? So I catch it in a Premier Ball, and I name it Southwest. It's got a crappy nature, but we'll make it work. Our next encounter in Santaloon Forest is a Metapod, which we catch once again, and we name it Allegiant. Now, I know that we can't actually use the Metapod, but once it evolves, we will, obviously. So our next encounter on Route 3 is a Fletchling. And I'm excited for this because that gives us Fire type later on in the game, which is fantastic. And I name it Frontier. Our next encounter on Route 22 is a Farfetch'd, which, I mean, come on. Do you really think that this thing is actually going to come in clutch at some point and save the whole run? I doubt it. So we name it Delta. And before the first gym battle, I decided to grind up Allegiant and evolve it into a Butterfree to get some nice support and some good special attack on the team. And it is time to take on the first gym leader, the bug-type specialist, Viola. Now, admittedly, we have a fantastic matchup against her because we have a team full of flying types, which are obviously super effective against bug types. She leads off with her Surskit. I lead off with Delta just because it has that strong Aerial Ace. Almost get the one shot, but of course, she's going to heal with her potion, so just take it out on the next turn. No big deal. Vivillon comes out. I try the same thing with Aerial Ace. It gets a little scary with the Vivillon's infestations, but I have to admit this Farfetch'd is putting in way more work than I ever expected it to. So you know what? Props to you, Delta. You may have just earned yourself a spot on the team. No, I'm not making any promises here, but you did just earn us our first badge, so thank you for that. Up next on Route 4, we catch ourselves a Ladybug that not only is it a useless Pokemon, it also has a completely useless nature. Now up next, in Professor Sycamore's lab, we have to battle him before he gives us one of the 3 Kanto starters. Can you guess which one we're going to take? But we take out this Bulbasaur pretty quickly. Or we would have if I wasn't being dumb and switching into Delta, this useless little duck who gets leech seeded, which then makes the battle with Squirtle that much harder because it's a bulky little boy. I almost take it out with Aerial Aces, but it gets a little too close for comfort, so I switch out into Allegiant, take it down with a quick few confusions, and then the Charmander comes in. So I try to be smart and get some residual damage with Infestation. But it burns on the first turn. So we have to switch back into Frontier, who also gets burned on the first turn and is getting spammed with Smokescreen. So then we send in the Keen Eye Pidgey, who's gonna take it out. My clutch Pidgey, my boy Pidgey. I love it so much. It's my favorite for a reason. And now we of course get the beautiful Charmander. Now, its nature isn't great. If it was X, it'd be better, but then we wouldn't be able to use the Mega. So up next on Route 5, we find ourselves a Doduo. We catch it in a Quick Ball, and we name it Hawaiian. Now, Dodrio is incredible, probably the best Gen 1 bird. We have a few quick evolutions. We have our Fletchling into a Fletchinder, which is awesome because we get a Fire type, and then my beautiful boy evolves into a Pidgeotto, one of my favorite Pokemon. I mean, look at that sprite. Maybe I'm just showing my age, but it's just so good. On Route 6, we catch ourselves an Nincada, which, as you know, is not a flying type, but Ninjask is, so this will definitely come into handy later on. And then at Parfum Palace, whatever it's called, this dude wants to charge us $1,000 to come in, just so we can save their dog. I don't know. I don't get it. But on Route 7, we end up running into a Hoppip Horde, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know was here, but I'm hyped because Jumpluff is an incredible support Pokemon. So this will be awesome, and we name it Sun Country. Now we have to battle Coconut Head and Cookie from Ned's Declassified. I don't know. But Doduo is awesome, so it should be just fine. Until Corphish is an absolute monster and we have to send in our Allegiant, who just used a Struggle Bug on both of these Pokemon, bringing him down quickly because this Corphish is getting kind of scary with these Swords Dances. Thankfully, the battle ends pretty quickly, and that is the end of the survival guide. I always forget about the huge amount of game that happens in between Badge 1 and Badge 2 in this game. But anyway, in Connecting Cave, we get ourselves a Zubat, which is fantastic. As most of you probably know, Crobat is absolutely incredible speed demon. We name it Eastern. And next on Route 8, we get another incredible team member, Drifloon. I'm telling ya, X and Y have such an incredible Pokedex. So we catch the Drifloon with a Quick Ball, and of course, fittingly, we name it Spirit. Back in the aquarium, we find ourselves the item that's going to help us get our next Pokemon, the Old Rod. And you're thinking, wait, you need flying types. But that's right, I'm getting myself a Magikarp because I'm not banning Gyarados. This is my first Nuzlocke. I am going to use the best Nuzlocke Pokemon available. And it has a good nature, plus speed. We can make that work for sure. And the plot sends us back over to the Glittering Cave where we grab ourselves the Old Amber after a painful amount of smashing rocks. And then we get Aerodactyl. We name it Meza, and look at that nature. And then a few more evolutions, we get ourselves a Crobat, and we get ourselves a Gyarados. Oh yeah, what powerhouses to the team now. I went ahead to Route 10 before this next gym to catch myself a Hawlucha, which will be invaluable for this next gym. Right on cue, we find ourselves in the second gym, the Rock-type gym leader, Grant. Now, this, as you might guess, would be surprisingly difficult for my flying-only team. Even Gyarados kind of struggles here because of these rock types. So I'm going to lead off with my Hawlucha, which I obviously just caught, and boom, one Rock Smash, Amara's gone. But Amara's not the danger. We know that. It's this Tyrant, which isn't actually a problem for Hawlucha at all. Hawlucha is absolutely broken, and I'm sure will be a cornerstone of this team for time to come. And that right there is our second badge. Now, after a quick and easy battle against Karina with our Hawlucha, we get to evolve our Jumpluff, Sun Country. That will be fantastic. And then next on Route 11, we run into a Staravia, which is an incredible Pokemon, probably the best early route bird ever. Staraptor is absolutely incredible, and we name it Envoy. It has a neutral nature, which is fine, but more importantly, it has Intimidate. And then next in the Reflection Cave, we catch ourselves a Woobat, which, let's be honest, is probably never going to see battle. In the Tower of Mastery, I completely forget that there's a battle against Serena, and I really hope that that doesn't foreshadow for something later. I accidentally leave with Envoy. Not a huge deal. Switch into Alaska. Take a Fake Out. That's annoying. Go to bite it, get confused, but we break through, so it's okay. Another bite, and the Meowstic goes down. And then next comes out the Absol, so I switch into Hawlucha, which very easily takes care of the Absol with a Flying Press. Now next comes the Braxian, however you want to say it. I switch into Alaska. I misclick Bite for some reason. I get trapped by Fire Spin, so now I can't switch out, and I'm shaking in my boots because I don't want to lose the best Pokemon on my team until I realize that Bulldoze is just a one-hit kill from there, and we win the battle. Look at that. And now it's time to take on our third gym badge, Karina, the fighting type gym leader. She leads off with her Mindfu, we lead off with Endeavor, and yeah, we have a pretty good matchup in this gym, so I try to set up some Swords Dances just to, get a little bit bulkier and really just sweep through her team. So Aerial Ace completely destroys this Mindfu, and the Machoke, yeah, it didn't stand much of a chance either. This looks like it's gonna be a pretty easy battle. Maybe another Hawlucha can, put up a fight. Or not. Or Endeavor is just going to sweep through her entire team and get us our next gym badge. This playthrough is actually the first time I've ever used a Hawlucha, and boy am I impressed. So as we get Surf here, which is huge for us, we get a little Mantike up by the little challenge tower, which we're probably not going to use at all, but we name it JetBlue. It's time to take on our rival again, and this time we're going to lead off with our new Aerodactyl against her Meowstic, and we're just going to crunch this thing back to the Paleolithic era, of course. Except no, it doesn't one-shot, which was a surprise, I have to admit. Maybe I'm overestimating how good Aerodactyl is, but I have fond memories of this thing being a monster. It also can't one-shot the Braixien, which is concerning, but we're going to leave it in there. It's going to prove itself. Absol comes in, and yeah, Aerodactyl's awesome. It's so cool you can get this thing in this game so early on. With Serena taken care of, it's time to take on Ramos, the 4th gym leader, the grass type specialist. Now, if you'll see, the level cap is level 34, so I really could have had a Staraptor at this point, but it's fine. I have a bunch of flying types against a bunch of grass types. Now, Jump Bluff is awesome. Don't underestimate Jump Bluff, but with this Go-Go coming out, we're going to switch over to Spirit, and we're going to see how many Omni boosts we can get off of Ominous Wind. We have 2 tries. On the first one, we get nothing. On the second try, we get our first Omni boost. So we're getting bulkier, we're getting faster, we're getting stronger. And we're gonna keep going because this thing can't touch us. We get 2 Omni boosts. And now that we're at +2 everything, we're just gonna sweep through the rest of his team with our puny little Spirit. And this Weeping Bell really doesn't stand a chance. So we're just gonna gust it away and we're gonna blow Ramos off of his little treehouse. And we're gonna grab our 4th gym badge. And with this win, Spirit gets the much deserved evolution into Drifblim, which once again, I've never actually used before, so I'm really excited about. So after we get this badge on our way back to Lumio City, we actually get 2 very important evolutions. We get our monstrous Staraptor, one of a fan favorite for sure, and then the most overused boy in Pokemon, Charizard, which I'm sure will be a staple to this team. And now back in Lumio City, we have Inspector Gadget and his toddler sidekick turning back on the Eiffel Tower. Or something like that. But now it's time for the next gym fight. This gym is arguably our worst matchup in the whole game, a team full of electric types, and I'm really wishing that I could Mega Evolve at this point, but either way I'll lead off with Mesa, and I take out Emolga with a quick Rock Tomb, but now here comes this Magneton, which is sturdy as a problem. So I'm really just kind of hoping and praying that it goes for a Supersonic or something stupid, or I can survive a Thunderbolt, but that doesn't happen. So there goes our first death of the game. But that's okay, our team is still stacked. I send an Envoy, and then I'm just gonna chip it to get rid of its sturdy, take it out with a close combat, and prepare for the Heliolisk that's gonna come in. But as I'm sure you're gonna guess, we just close combated again, and now we get our gym badge. But I really should have planned better for our worst matchup in the game. That's an unfortunate loss. In hindsight, I probably should have just brought something to sack off or see if Jump Bluff could have eaten the Thunderbolt, but it is what it is. Yeah, that was creepy. We're moving on. Serena once again challenges us to a battle and leads off with her Meowstic. Now we have our Gyarados this time leading off, and this bite does honestly kind of pitiful damage against this Meowstic, but it's not a problem. We take it out fairly easily after a few pretty hefty Psychics. This Absol is kind of scary, but we just switch into Envoy, get that Intimidate off, lower the attack, make it a little bit more manageable, and then just knock it off with a close combat. No big deal. What comes in next is really the problem that I didn't think was going to be this difficult. So for Delphox, in hindsight I probably should have just stayed in, but I go into Charizard to try it out. This Mystical Fire does nothing, but this Bulldoze also really doesn't do that much damage. And now if you'll see here, this Psybeam does big damage. If it would have let off using Psybeam instead of Mystical Fire, that battle could have gone a lot differently. But it worked out and we beat Serena. Up next is Valerie, the Fairy type gym leader, which is our 6th gym badge. We're moving right along. Mawile comes out, we lead off with American, the Charizard, knock that thing out of there with a quick Flame Burst. And now this Mr. Mime, which is bulky as hell apparently. I try to hit it with some Bulldozes, lower its speed, wing attack, but look at how much damage this thing does with Psychic. So I switch into Spirit, I try to do some like Thunder Wave and Hex action, but once again, this thing hits like a truck. truck with that Psychic. So it's getting kind of dangerous, but we do manage to take out the Mr. Mime after that light screen wears off. But now, with this next Pokemon coming in and Spirit so low, we have to switch. So we go out to Eastern against this Sylveon, we hit it with a Toxic, and then I'm thinking Acrobatics is going to do more damage just because Crobat's such a physical attacker, so we do this Acrobatics, does a lot of damage, but then they hit us with a Charm. But good thing we got Venoshock, and this thing is poisoned, so this does a shocking amount of damage actually. I figured that Sylveon would be pretty specially bulky, and Crobat's not very specially strong, but it works out, and we get our 6th gym badge. Now, out on Route 15, I was actually down there looking for a Rotom to turn into the fan, but we ended up running into a Murkrow Horde, which is fantastic, and we catch ourselves a Murkrow, which having a Dark type on the team will be very, very nice. I name it North Pacific. It has a fantastic nature, and now Serena wants to battle us again, like always. Now, I lead off with North Pacific to show off my brand new Honchkrow, because why not lead off against this Meowstic? I use some Night Slashes. I have to switch out on the Jolteon. I go into American to try to hit some Bulldozes, which is pretty safe, especially since the thing just goes for a double kick or a quick attack or whatever. Not an electric move is the point. Now we get Flamethrower on our Charizard. This will be fantastic. Here comes this Delphox, which was pretty scary last time. And then it uses Flamethrower instead of Psychic again. But it's still getting a little chippy, so we switch into Spirit, which that obviously does not go well. So we have to switch out once again. We go into Alaska, get an Intimidate off, get hit hard by a Psychic. But now we have Aqua Tail, so down goes the Delphox. Now, I don't know why that Delphox is always so scary. Is that thing way better than I remember? I mean, I guess it is a starter, but still. Now on to our 7th gym, the Psychic type specialist, with one of the coolest gym designs that I've seen in a really long time, honestly. I love 6th generation, but I mean, with this Honchkrow, do you really think this battle is going to be difficult? It's not. This is arguably easier than the grass gym for us here. I just Night Slash my way through this entire team, knock off Olympia, and I grab ourselves our 7th gym badge. Unpopular opinion, but 6th gen might actually be one of my favorites, even though it is very easy. It's just so good. I love the designs and all the Pokemon diversity and all of that. But anyway, we're starting off with the Team Flare storyline, which now we have to take on Lysander for the first time. That Mind Food just gets smacked out of existence, no big deal. Now here's the problem with this Gyarados, is I don't know if I should just switch out right away because I don't want it to start building Dragon Dances. So I try to start maybe getting a Freeze with an Ice Fang, but I have no luck and I get dangerously low on health, but he does confuse himself. So now I switch out into Spirit, and thankfully I have Thunderbolt on this thing, and just pow, there goes the Gyarados, no problem there. Now he has this little Murkrow, which why don't you have a Honchkrow, man? It is so much better, and it just gets absolutely destroyed. He sends in his Pyroar, so we're just going to send out Envoy, and you know what's coming. The big bad close combat to knock this cat off of the screen, and we beat Lysander for the first time. And down at the bottom of their lair, we come to this button, which I click it, I pick the right one, but he ends up, you know, just setting off a weapon of mass destruction anyway. But I don't understand what actually happens here other than, like, they turn a few houses over. I don't know. But then Lysander starts crying, and we have to battle him again. But I'm going to be honest with you, this battle was incredibly easy, so I'm just going to skip it, especially because we have to battle him again in, like, not even 3 minutes. But what happens next is we awaken Yveltal, however you want to say it, which is a flying type, which would be incredible to have on our team. But we're not going to use legendaries because, let's be honest, 6th gen is easy enough as it is. But Yveltal is a pretty cool Pokemon. I don't think I've ever actually used one. Probably because, once again, X and Y is very easy. So we end up catching it in a Master Ball, and we name it Empire and throw it straight into the box. And now it's time to take on Lysander for the 3rd time, and now he's gone Mr. Dr. Octagonopus or whatever it is. And this battle is much more difficult because he has that Mega Gyarados at the back of his party, which is gonna be really difficult to deal with. So we take out the Minshew really easily with Staraptor. Staraptor is such an incredible Pokemon. I don't know why I didn't hit close combat here. I probably would have just one-shot it, but now I have to play the balancing game with Roost trying to stay alive from these Fire Blasts. But we switch back out for his Honchkrow into our own, use Thunder Wave to slow it down, and then ended up knocking it out pretty easily. But the scary part is next, because now he's going to send in his Gyarados, and I don't know how to do this without getting out of it death-free. So my plan is basically to throw a Thunder Wave at him and just hope for a paralysis. But we don't get it, and we all know Honchkrow is not going to survive an Aqua Tail from a Mega Gyarados. So next we send in Eastern or Crobat, and I actually end up misclicking here and going for Cross Poison instead of X-Scissor, which is super effective. So now we have to hope and pray for a paralysis to not die, and we get it. So then we can just pop off another X-Scissor, and down goes Lysander. That could have been a lot worse. We got really lucky. And then we actually end up running into a Combi when I was in the berry fields just trying to get some berries, which I honestly forgot that this was here. And it was actually a female, which is incredible. So we can evolve it into Vespiquen, which I've never used before, but is such a cool Pokemon. After quickly defeating Sycamore and the 3 rivals, we run into a horde of Gligar on Route 19. So we end up catching one in a Timer Ball, and we name it Tradewind. Up next on Route 20, we end up running into a Noctowl, which I didn't even know was here because we really don't need more team members at this point. We're doing just fine. And then we run into this Disney princess of a gym leader here, just communing with the animals. He reminds me of a certain character. Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout! Anyway, time to battle Wulfric. And let's be honest here, this was going to be really easy. We have a Charizard, and Wulfric's a pushover anyway, so yeah, this is going to be sped up a little extra. Because we just sweep through his whole team with Charizard. I even prepared for the Confuser right here. It wasn't going to be difficult. So that is our 8th badge with, and I don't know if we've actually used Charizard at this point yet much, but yeah, he's going to be a big staple from here on out. After what feels like, I don't know, an hour and a half worth of fishing here, we finally get the encounter that I was looking for here on Route 22. It's I'm pretty sure it's a 1% fishing encounter, but we get it, and it is none other than a beautiful, beautiful Dragonair. And I'm very excited to have this on the squad. This team is absolutely stacked. There are so many good flying types in Pokemon X and Y. So we catch it, we name it Emirates. It has an okay nature. It's going to be a mixed Dragonair, but on to the Elite Four. In Victory Road, we evolve Emirates into a Dragonite, a big, beautiful Dragonite. I love this Pokemon so much. And no, it's not just because it's Gen 1, alright? It's just a fantastic design. But we take on Serena for the last time. I lead off with our new Silver, just Bug Buzz away this Meowstic. And Bug is such an underrated type. I love the Bug type. It's one of my favorites. It's so underrated. There's so many good Bug type Pokemon. But she sends in this Delphox, which has been a pretty big problem for our team up until this point. But now we have a Gyarados, and we're just gonna waterfall this thing off of the screen. Let's move on. Jolteon, which causes a problem for our team for obvious reasons. But now we have Emirates, which resists electric, but gets paralyzed on the first turn, gets paralyzed on the second turn, gets paralyzed on the third turn. Yeah, so that was very, very unfortunate. Thankfully, it just goes for a quick attack instead of another discharge, so we just take it out with Envoy with a powerful return, who I'm just going to do the same thing to Altaria because Envoy is such an incredible Pokemon. Staraptor is so good, I cannot say it enough. Close combat, bye-bye Absol, and there goes Serena for the last time. We ended up getting ambushed by a Skarmory here, which I'm going to catch, but I'm not going to use because my team is already pretty much put together. We name it Lufthansa and we throw it in the box, and speaking of our team, here is our final Elite Four team. We have Envoy the Staraptor, we have Alaska the Gyarados, we have American the Charizard, we have Silver the Vespiquen, we have Emirates the Dragonite, and then finally we have Endeavor the Hawlucha. I am so excited for this team. We're starting off with the Fire Specialist, Malva, who has a pretty solid team, but we have all the answers. And this right here is Emirates' time to shine. We're going to lead off with our Dragonite. Now this Pyroar does pose a bit of a problem with Wild Charge, but that's why we're leading with Dragonite, who has Earthquake and completely destroys Pyroar. And then what comes out next is Torkoal, which once again, we're just going to Earthquake because Dragonite is a monster. Curse all you want, it's not gonna matter. We got the lefties on Emirates to get some residual healing going. And now here comes the Talonflame, which we've taught Dragonite Rock Slide specifically for this. So we're just gonna throw that Rock Slide. Of course, Talonflame is gonna outspeed with Brave Bird, but it doesn't matter. Dragonite's a monster, we got Rock Slide, and now here comes the Chandelure, which I once again try to Rock Slide here, which I was really thought that this was going to 1-hit KO because Chandelure is pretty squishy, but of course she's going to full restore, so now we're just going to throw 2 Dragon Claws and get the job done. And that right there is our first Elite Four victory for our team of flying types. Now, after changing around our TMs a little bit and reorganizing our team, we enter the Flood Chamber to take on the Water type specialist, Seabold. And his team is pretty scary. It's got some unique challenges to it, but I think that we're prepared. Now, he has 2 pretty strong special attackers and 2 pretty strong physical attackers here. So I lead off with Silver, who's specially defensive, to lead off into his Clawitzer, which, boy, did I underestimate. I really thought that I'd be able to take this thing out pretty easily, but it is strong. And so I should have just gone for the kill right there. But first, I was getting greedy, and I wanted to go into the next fight with higher health, and then he gets a crit. So now I'm in like a heal stall off here, trying to just get lucky. This was poor play. This was not well planned at all, but it's okay because we push through and we end up just bug buzzing and getting rid of this Clawitzer for good. But hey, never punished, right? He sends out his Barbaracle next, which is an awful matchup for Silver, being bug flying type. I send an Endeavor to tank the Stone Edge that is undoubtedly coming in, which it does. And now I go for a Roost because it takes away my flying type here, so I'm going to get some more health back, and I'm going to take less damage from the Stone Edge on the next turn. I go for the Brick Break, thinking I can get the one shot, but not quite. Now, I know he's going to heal here, so I take the opportunity to get up to +2 attack with a Swords Dance, and now this next Brick Break is going to take him out immediately. But it didn't really end up mattering because he's going to send in his Starmie, which I can't stay in on because it's Psychic type and is going to absolutely destroy my Hawlucha. So I send in Alaska, my Gyarados, because she is pretty bulky, at least on the special side. So I get off a D-Dance here. I'm trying to one-shot this Starmie with an Earthquake, and I don't quite get that job done. But it's okay. I can tank another Psychic, get some lefties recovery, and take out the Starmie on the next turn. Now, next comes in the Gyarados, which is a problem. So, believe it or not, I'm actually going to switch to Charizard here because I'm predicting an Ice Fang. But that doesn't happen. Yikes. So now I have to risk going into Emirates with a +1 Gyarados standing in front of me, who gets off another Dragon Dance. But he just gets greedy and goes for a 3rd Dragon Dance, and I can take out the Gyarados with a Thunderbolt, which is shocking because that could have been the end of it all right there with a +3 Gyarados, but we defeat our 2nd Elite Four member. Up next, we head into the Ironworks chamber to take on Wickstrom, the Steel type specialist. And, well, you can probably guess where this one's going. We have a pretty good matchup here. We have Hawlucha, we have Staraptor, and of course, we have American the Charizard. And like I said in the beginning of the video, we are allowed to use Mega Evolution in the Elite Four, and this is the first time we actually got to use our Mega Charizard here, which is just so broken. It has Drought, it sets up the sun, and then I can just fire off flamethrowers from a Mega Charizard in the sun. I can't get over how broken that Pokemon is. But Probopass is dangerous for us, obviously, so we switch into Hawlucha, who's going to very easily handle this Probopass. It's not that big of a deal. We know he's going to heal, we know he has Sturdy, but we outspeed. It's not that dangerous. But it does delay the inevitable for an annoying amount of time. These Pokemon, these 30 Pokemon, are just, they're so annoying. And in comes Scizor, which is such a cool Pokemon. Now, I try to make this battle a little bit more interesting by staying in with Endeavor and trying to take on the Scizor, but it's just outmatched. Scizor is such a good Pokemon. So it doesn't work out, and we end up switching back to Charizard. And yeah, you can guess where this one's gonna go. One big flamethrower. Oh, after a little bit of chip damage from a Bullet Punch, it doesn't matter. And now he's going to send in his Aegislash. Now, do you think Aegislash can tank a flamethrower? Yes, because it uses King Shield. Do you think it can take another one? No. No, it cannot. And there goes Wickstrom, our 3rd Elite Four victory. Up next, we enter the Dragon Mark Chamber to take on Drasna, the Dragon-type specialist. Now, we should have a pretty good matchup here because we have a Dragonite and a Gyarados. So, we're going to lead off with our Dragonite, who's just going to completely destroy this Dragalge in one Dragon Claw, which I don't know what else you expected here. It's a pseudo-legendary against the team of dragons. And Altaria is going to go down with an Ice Beam because this is a special Dragonite. Well, it's a mixed attacker Dragonite. And Noivern has to take the same fate after taking a Dragon Pulse. But once again, Ice Beam completely destroys it. And now, this Druddigon, which is one of the ugliest Pokemon ever, just annoys the hell out of me for this entire battle between Rough Skin and Dragon Tails, switching my Pokemon out just constantly. But I end up throwing a Will-O-Wisp at it, lower its attack. It just keeps Dragon Tailing and switching our Pokemon out, but I'm not going to stay in with Emirates for obvious reasons. So we just keep switching around and letting the burn pretty much take him down. Throw some Intimidates, he uses Revenge, but with the burn and the Intimidates, it doesn't matter. Now we can start chipping at him with Return, but I don't want to take any unnecessary risks, so I actually end up switching again over to Alaska just to get another Intimidate off, let the burn damage take him out. Oh, just kidding. Full Restore. Elite Four is annoying because of all these healing, and once again, we start getting dragged out because of Dragon Rush over and over again. So at this point, I'm just tired of it. I just Bug Buzz, get him out of here, finish off our last Elite Four member, onto the champion. And finally, we make our way into the Radiant Chamber to take on Diantha, the champion of the Kalos League. Beautiful chamber here, beautiful room, I love it. The end is upon us. It is time for the final challenge against champion Diantha. She leads off with her Hawlucha, we lead off with American the Charizard, we Mega Evolve, and we fire off an Air Slash. And this Hawlucha falls very quickly. And now she's going to send in her Tyrantrum, which is a pretty scary matchup for us. So we're going to send in our Hawlucha, and we're just going to tank this Head Smash. Not well at all. But we have a Berry, it takes some recoil damage, and now we can fire off a Brick Break and get rid of this Tyrantrum. That was a pretty big threat that we handled pretty well with a little bit of preparation. Aurorus is going to get destroyed by a Brick Break. Ice type is such a cool typing, but has awful matchups. Now, I don't know if you want to call it greed staying in on a sun-boosted Goodra that has Fire Blast, or if you want to call it strategically sacking off my Hawlucha because the champion battle. But either way, that's what happens. So I ended up switching into Alaska here because we can take out this Goodra with an Ice Fang very easily. Thankfully, we really don't need Hawlucha for the rest of this fight, but I don't know, I kind of wish I would have left it alive, but what's done is done. Now Gourgeist comes in and we're just going to fire off another Ice Fang, and it is surprisingly thick. I did not think that Gourgeist was going to be this defensive, but it doesn't matter, because now we have the opportunity to set up some Dragon Dances, because we can tank its attacks pretty easily here. It can't really do a whole lot to us. Well, at least that's what I thought, until I realized that it used its little Halloween trick thing and made us a Ghost type. I did not think that went through, but once again, we got lucky. Didn't really get punished for it. And with our Dragon Dance boosted Gyarados, we fire off one last Waterfall. And that, my friends, is how I completed my first ever Nuzlocke, a hardcore flying type only Nuzlocke of Pokemon Y. And boy, was it a lot of fun on the way. I got to use a lot of Pokemon that I've never used before, and some that I've known very well. I EV trained for the first time ever. I really dove deep and tried to plan for some of these fights. And I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. There will definitely be more of this coming. And if you stayed this far into the video, I hope you enjoyed it. I would appreciate a comment, whether it's positive or negative. Give me some feedback. But once again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.